At the turn of the century, the print revolution dramatically increased the number of newspapers circulating in the United States. Journalists would use eye-catching headlines and exposés in order to gain readers' attention. It was the age of yellow journalism. The term muckraking was coined by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1906 during a speech. Muckrakers were seen as cleaning up the muck of society by documenting lynchings, corrupt politics, unpleasant living conditions of the working class, and the dangers of meat packaging. Ida B. Wells, born from a slave, became a journalist known for her writings on education, women's suffrage, and her most well-known works on lynching mobs. Wells took her pamphlet to Britain to inform the British of the abominations occurring in the South. In 1893, Wells was exiled for her unveiling of the harsh lynch mobs who populated the Deep South. Due to her bravery, Wells contributed to revealing to the world the truth of the Deep South. Although these segregation laws were not repealed until the 1960s, Wells was one of the first to bring the horrors of black lynching worldwide. In the early 1900s, corruption ran deeply through the government. Between briberies and violated regulations, a hero emerged. In 1906, in a seasonal exposé in a copy of Cosmopolitan, David Graham Phillips published a piece titled "Treason in the Senate." In the piece, Phillips exposes the United States Senate and all of the corruption it houses. After the public found out about the briberies and hidden secrets of our government, they became enraged, and eventually the backlash led to the addition of the 17th Amendment to our Constitution. Jacob Riis was a famed muckraker for his photojournalism of the horrid living conditions in New York City. His book, How the Other Half Lives, served as a basis for the future of muckraking. Riis went into the tenements of New York City and documented the overcrowding and filthy rooms. He also published photos exposing child labor in textile mills. Riis published his book in 1890. His publication brought the conditions to the attention of the upper class. Due to this documentation, reforms were made to improve the conditions in New York City. The Tenement House Committee was created, the New York Tenement House Act was published, and the Department of Labor began taking action. Upton Sinclair was the most well-known muckraker from the early 1900s. Sinclair published a book titled The Jungle, which exposed the dangers of packaged meat at the time. The book left nothing to the imagination, from telling of the men working on the assembly line losing fingers during work, to rotten and diseased animals being used in the meat, to the primitive toilet placed conveniently next to where the meat was packaged. The public's shocked and disgusted reaction quickly turned into outrage. Eventually, this led to new federal food laws being passed by President Roosevelt to ensure healthy and clean food for the country. The muckrakers' unconventional journalism method sparked the beginning of the new progressive era in America and promoted positive change of the working and living conditions for all Americans.